A major champions tournament just concluded over in Thailand with 92 players participating in it, and this is essentially their equivalent to their national championships and their qualifier for the World Championships. In the end, the teamlet one featured a combination of Mega Aerodactyl as well as Mega Venusaur and paired it with Pokemon like Kommo-o. The team was really designed to beat Mega Charizard Y teams, which of course are really popular. And as you can see here, there were a lot of Mega Charizard teams in the top 16, but in the end it was Mega Aerodactyl, Mega Venusaur, and Kommo-o that managed to win the entire tournament. Hey guys, Aaron CybertronVGC here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the Pokemon Champions VGC ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today, we're going to be showcasing the unique pairing of Mega Aerodactyl with Mega Venusaur, of course, paired with this Klangrisol Kommo-o. Really excited to see what this duel can do. I initially featured Mega Venusaur on the channel early on in Champions and called it one of the best anti-meta Pokemon, and I think that continues to be the case. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Also, before we get started, I just wanted to give a quick plug to my podcast, VGC Reflections, which I do with Marcus, who is one of the greatest players of all time from Europe. We posted a new episode yesterday, which I'll link down in the description below. We talk about the end of the first ranked season, what it's like climbing the ranked ladder, Marcus ending in Champions tier specifically, and our thoughts about the metagame. So it's a really fun project that I'm working on with Marcus, and so I hope you get the chance to check it out. Anyway, let's get started. If you're interested in trying out the team, the replica ID is on the screen, and there's also an accompanying Pokepaste down in the description below. As mentioned, this is a dual Mega team that really was designed to try to counter Mega Charizard Y teams, which are really popular right now. The idea is that you've got Aerodactyl to threaten Charizard, and you've got Venusaur to threaten the Fairy types that are normally seen on those compositions. Pokemon like Sylveon, Floette, and Whimsicott all match up quite poorly into Mega Venusaur. You also have the Klangrisol Clanging Scales Kommo-o. The idea behind this Kommo-o is that it can often set up against these Charizards because Charizard just does not do a lot of damage into Kommo-o. Then once you've set up, Kommo-o can just dish out massive amounts of damage. It's often important to try to take care of the Fairy type Pokemon that you'll go up against on those teams before you get started with Kommo-o, which is why of course Venusaur exists. You also have some classic support options in Incineroar and good offense in Sylveon as well as Basculegion. One thing to note as you take a look at the spreads for this team are that the Kommo-o and the Sylveon are super offensive. As you can see, basically max special attack and speed on Kommo-o and basically near max special attack and speed on Sylveon. The idea is that the Sylveon here under Tailwind is just going to outspeed so many Pokemon in the format, but at the downside of being, of course, more physically weak. So, for example, Dire Claw from Sneasler will just threaten you with a one-hit knockout. Some players, I would say the majority of players in this format right now who use Sylveon use a lot of HP and defense investment, and of course, have to sacrifice in terms of special attack and speed. So the upside of this Sylveon is that you're going to be doing more damage than your opponents might anticipate, but the downside is you don't have as much bulk to work with. The Basculegion, crucially, is adamant nature rather than jolly as well, and so that increases your damage potential, but means that if you are up against opposing Basculegions that are jolly, you have to be a little bit cautious. Mega Venusaur here has a lot of HP and defense investment, and the Mega Aerodactyl also has a little bit of HP investment as well. Overall, at the end of the day, the team is designed to really take advantage of super effective damage as well as spread moves from the Pokemon like the Aerodactyl, Sylveon, as well as Kommo-o, and Mega Venusaur just matches up really well against a lot of common Pokemon in the format and can be brought into what feels like most matchups. In terms of playing with the team, one of the go-to modes is going to be Mega Aerodactyl plus Sylveon with Basculegion and Kommo-o in the back. The idea is simple. You set up Tailwind with the Aerodactyl, you can spam attacks like Rock Slide and Hyper Voice with this duo, then you can clean up the game with Pokemon like Basculegion as well as Kommo-o. The Sylveon in particular on this team is more offensive and faster paced, and so sometimes I can catch opponents off guard because it feels like the standard Sylveon these days actually has a lot of HP and defense investment, but as a result you have a lot less stat investment in special attack. So the Sylveon can burst your opponents for even more damage than they might be expecting. It's a really strong 4, and of course you have just 3 really powerful spread attacks in Hyper Voice, Rock Slide, as well as the Clanging Scales. Now, one of the interesting things about this team is that you don't always have to, of course, Mega Evolve Aerodactyl, and you can still bring it with Mega Venusaur. So one of the modes that I like going with is Mega Venusaur and Basculegion with Aerodactyl and Kommo-o in the back, and I think this is specifically strong into the Whimsicott, Glimmora, Charizard Y teams that are picking up. The idea is that opponents will often lead Glimmora to try to snipe down Aerodactyl, because once Aerodactyl is eliminated, Charizard has a lot more room to work with. So if you think your opponent is going to lead Whimsicott and Glimmora, well, Mega Venusaur matches up really nicely into both of those because you threaten Sludge Bomb into the Whimsicott, Earth Power into the Glimmora, and Basculegion, of course, can threaten a one-hit knockout as well, and can go for Aqua Jet to, say, finish off Glimmora should the Focus Sash still be intact, right? And so this is a duel that you can use to get rid of Glimmora early as well as Whimsicott. Then Aerodactyl and Kommo-o are protected and can come out in the late game. So I think when you play with this team, there's actually a lot of different scenarios where you can bring both Aerodactyl and Mega Venusaur and just basically not Mega Evolve the Aerodactyl because it's still really strong as a standalone Pokemon, whether it be Rock Slide for Charizard or Tailwind. Just note that without Focus Sash, obviously you are more vulnerable to getting one shot immediately. So that's why bringing it in the back often can feel quite strong. Of course, this team does have a Kommo-o that can set up, so leading Incineroar with it is an effective combination because you can just threaten something like Fake Out plus Clangorous Soul immediately. Once that Kommo-o is boosted, it'll threaten with a lot more damage, and then you can go for just immediate damage output or protect the Kommo-o and then pivot your Incineroar out, for example, into one of your Mega Evolutions. With this, I normally like Basculegion just because it is such an effective late-game Pokemon, and then one of the Mega Evolutions in Aerodactyl and Venusaur, and basically tailor it based on what the opposing team has. For example, if they don't have fairy types, then I think let the Venusaur, it doesn't need to be as important, but if they have a fairy type like a Floette or a Sylveon, then Venusaur definitely becomes infinitely more valuable because of course you just have a super positive matchup into fairy types with this. Aerodactyl otherwise of course allows you to set up Tailwind and just gives you a faster option to pair with the Kommo-o. So if you have a +1 Kommo-o plus Aerodactyl out next to each other, well, they can just start spamming damage and often knock your opponents out before they get the chance to move. Finally, one mode that I like is actually regular Aerodactyl with Sylveon, Basculegion, and Mega Venusaur. The idea here is that there are often going to be matchups where you still want to Mega Venusaur, and so you can use regular Aerodactyl to still set up Tailwind for Sylveon, and then use Mega Venusaur under Tailwind afterwards. So, as you can see, a bunch of the different modes here do combine both of the Mega Evolutions, just with you using regular Aerodactyl and Mega Venusaur. So, keep that flexibility in mind as you try out this team. In terms of weaknesses and things to watch out for, I think one of the more annoying Mega Evolutions to go up against is, funnily enough, opposing Mega Aerodactyl, because they threaten both of your Mega Evolutions for super effective damage and also pressures Pokemon like Incineroar and Kommo-o for super effective damage. If the Mega Aerodactyl has Wide Guard, it becomes even more annoying, and we don't see Wide Guard that frequently on Mega Aerodactyl, but towards the end of the last ranked season, a couple of really high-level Japanese players climbed to the very top of the ladder using Wide Guard on Mega Aerodactyl, so you have to be cautious of it, because should they also have Wide Guard, well, suddenly they have super effective coverage into so much of the team and are able to block a lot of the spread moves that you rely on with this team. The team creator also mentioned that sand teams are really difficult for this composition and perhaps maybe the worst matchup overall. Their one loss at the major tournament was to a sand team, and so what makes it tricky is that you trade really negatively in terms of damage, right? Pokemon like Corviknight, for example, can wall a lot of the team while also threatening most of the team for super effective damage. Mega Scovillain's also an annoying Pokemon because, of course, it can spread burns with its ability, and you're not able to knock it out as quickly, right? Even just getting a crucial burn on something like Mega Aerodactyl can really slow down your damage output. So these teams in particular, I think, can be a nightmare to go up against. Team creator also mentioned some specific sets on common Pokemon that you should be cautious of, like Jolly Sass Basculegion, because of course we're running Admin Basculegion for more damage here, as well as Choice Scarf Garchomp paired with Red Support to cover for things like Sylveon. These sets are pretty common, so I would say that it's not like they just single-handedly beat your team, but if you don't position yourself properly, you can get caught in some tricky positions, right? For example, maybe Kommo-o sets up, but the Garchomp is still threatening you with a Dragon Claw. Maybe you have an endgame of your own Basculegion against the opposing Jolly Basculegion, and now you're just going to get outsped by them. So there are more things to be careful of rather than saying, oh, these just single-handedly beat the entire team. Finally, some other watchouts. I think Wide Guard, as mentioned, can be really disruptive, so you can obviously see it on Pokemon like Aerodactyl, but I've also seen it, of course, on Pokemon like Pelipper and Aegislash, and if your opponent is able to even just threaten Wide Guard, you have to be cautious. Psychic-type damage, especially for Pokemon like Kommo-o and Mega Venusaur, can be scary, so I've had games where my opponent had something like Mega Delphox, and I just had to be a lot more cautious about how I positioned these Pokemon. And then the Sylveon on this team basically just doesn't have bulk. You have very minimal HP and no defense investment. So that means that you, of course, will fall to physical damage fairly quickly, especially if it's super effective. Things like Dire Claw from Sneasler, the Sylveon is not trained for. So, as always, these weaknesses are not exhaustive, just some of my observations while playing with the team as well as notes from the team creator, but are definitely things you should be cautious of. We've got a Rain team here. Pelipper, Scizor, Archaludon, Sneasler, Dragonite, Basculegion. Venusaur should be really solid here, but it has to worry about Hurricane from Dragonite and Pelipper. If I were them, I would not bring... you could bring regular Scizor, I suppose. Because otherwise Sylveon goes really hard. Kommo-o is interesting. I don't think it's that strong due to the threat of Wide Guard from Pelipper, though. Basculegion is certainly scary. Like, Kommo-o, Basculegion, Sylveon, Venusaur feels okay. Trying to figure out what the best lead, though, is. Because part of me wants to lead Incineroar. Yeah, I might go Incineroar, Sylveon, Basculegion, Venusaur. I think the tricky thing about Kommo-o here is that I want it for Archaludon. I would love to get a Clanging Scales or Clangorous Soul with it, but I think it's kind of difficult to execute without Fake Out support because it is weak to a lot from my opponent's end. Okay, Pelipper, Basculegion. I guess Instant Kommo-o would have worked here, but once again, if they have Wide Guard, they just completely wall us anyway. Turn 1 already feels a little bit dicey here, right? I could Fake Out Pelipper, obviously, but then they could just say Wave Crash into Sylveon. I think I'm leaning towards just Fake Out Hyper Voice here, though. I thought about protecting Sylveon and going for, like, Parting Shot. Pelipper switches, okay? Arch. Good switch. The thing is, Venusaur is a pretty good matchup in Arch, so I'm not too worried about it, but... What does Basculegion go for? Wave Crash? Flip turn. Okay. So we confirm that you should be Choice Scarfed, which is very good information. And I'm guessing Pelipper comes back in right now. Yeah. So much damage. Citrus on Pelipper. Okay. It's now a question of as to whether or not they have Wide Guard. If I were them, I'd really try to aggressively target down Sylveon. If you're Citrus Berry, I often expect Wide Guard, so I'm leaning Protect here and Parting Shot. Yep. Could be Electro Shot into the instant slot, but that's not the end of the world because it's a free switch into Venusaur. It is going to be Electro Shot. Cut. Nice. That's big. So now we pivot out. I'm happy to bring in Mega Venusaur right now. With Mega Venusaur, I think I'm happy to actually Mega Evolve Sludge Bomb. They're probably going to have Dragonite in the back, right? So it is probably important to conserve Sylveon, although Basculegion's also not terrible. I just think they could protect Tailwind right now. So I'm leaning Hyper Beam. Try to just get 2 knockouts. Dragonite? It's a really logical switch, right? Because if you wide guard and switch there, the only thing you lose to is a Hyper Beam into the Archaludon slot. I'm curious if they wide guarded here. Maybe it's Tailwind. Because it would also cover for Earth Power. Oh, they actually went for Weather Ball. Okay. That's fine. Outpacing both of our Pokemon, though. So it's Citrus Berry, but I wonder if it's still max special attack, max speed. Now I get a Hyper Beam off. That is so satisfying. One-shotting a Dragonite through what is potentially multi-scale. So we know it's Basculegion plus Archaludon. Obviously, they can last respects Venu right now. I think Venusaur is actually really interesting because it's basically very good into Basculegion, very good into Archaludon, not amazing into Pelipper with offensive Hurricane, and very bad into Dragonite. But by switching in, they gave up Dragonite and basically immediately allowed us to win. Charizard, Whimsicott, Kingambit, Basculegion, Garchomp, Glimmora. I just featured this team on the channel, so if you want to see me play with it, check out the video link down below. It is basically the best team running around right now. Yeah, the main interesting thing is Whimsicott, Glimmora is obviously really oppressive. I think our best response to it would be leading Venusaur. Yeah, something like Venusaur and Basculegion is actually really intriguing as a lead. I think we want Aerodactyl in the back to deal with Charizard. And then what do we want as our final pick? Kommo-o's really bad into Whimsicott, but if we eliminate Whimsicott, it actually suddenly becomes quite viable. I don't hate giving it a shot here, but I think Sylveon also could work. The main thing to note is that the Garchomp on these teams now run Poison Jab most of the time, so Sylveon's not as effective as it normally would be. Yep, Whimsicott, Glimmora, that's the lead you want to see. Against this, I don't mind just Mega Evolving Sludge Bomb. If I were them, I actually would double Protect turn 1. They could also just Power Gem, like double up into Basculegion. Moonblast Power Gem. So I think I'm actually just going to Sludge Bomb and Liquidation here on the first turn because I could see them double protecting and I don't want to protect in front of them and get awkward. I could also see it just being Tailwind. Yep. So let's see, is it a double? It's not. Okay, that's fine. They're going to Sludge Bomb us, but now I Liquidation into you. So now I can just pressure with the double knockout next turn with Aqua Jet plus Sludge Bomb. Which seems pretty good to me. To be honest, I think Glimmora is always protecting here. And I could see Whimsicott like Moonblasting Basculegion or just Tailwinding. I'm definitely going to Sludge Bomb into Whimsicott. Whimsicott could also say switch out into Kingambit. But if it switches, that's fine. Yeah, I think I'll still go for the Aqua Jet here. Keep them honest. Yeah, they switched, but it's a free Aqua Jet on whatever's coming in. Good switch, though, because this breaks my Focus Sash. And they Tailwind. Okay. I think I'm fine with that outcome. That does a lot. Okay, that was a crit. Explains it. Get the knockout on a Whimsicott. Charizard's probably waiting to come in right now, though, right? Yeah. I think double protect, attack with both, double protect, means then I can just Tailwind, Clanging Scales. So I feel okay about that. Right, we have 3 turns of Tailwind to stall out, effectively. But this is why we bring regular Aerodactyl in the back. And after, like, an Aqua Jet on Charizard should put that in Rock Slide KO range. So Heat Wave Earthquake is what you would expect them to go for. Could also be Solar Beam. Yep. The main debate here is, do we want to switch out into Aerodactyl? But I think it's too risky. I actually think it's fine to just lose both of our Pokemon right now because Aerodactyl Kommo-o is like the perfect 2 to have in the back. So I don't mind going for, say, Sludge Bomb into Charizard and Aqua Jet into it. Like, I don't want to over-predict it here. And I could see them overreading into things now. Just Earthquake. The other thing is I'm not sure Basculegion actually feints from Earthquake Heat Wave, so I think they might need to Solar Beam it. Yeah, it's kind of close. Yeah, we hung on, so I could have gone for Liquidation there, but this is still totally fine, right? Because now I just get Aerodactyl in. This is why I thought it was really important to bring both Mega Evolutions. Venusaur to deal with Glimmora early, Aerodactyl to win the game after. But now I can go for Protect, Aqua Jet once more. Just double check the field state. Yeah, last turn of Tailwind. So Protect here, Aqua Jet. Given how low Basculegion was, like, I don't regret playing it the way I did because the whole idea was to make sure that the Charizard would be in Rock Slide KO range. If I get another Aqua Jet off, great. Like, you KO Basculegion, Kommo-o comes out, Tailwind, and Clanging Scales should win the game. Cool. Dragon Claw here. Heat Wave, yep. Okay, fortunately they didn't miss there. I think a miss actually would have put us in a slightly awkward position. Although I guess if you miss, I just Tailwind Last Respects Garchomp. But yeah, really happy with the Pokemon selection we made in this game. Kommo-o comes out. And now we should be able to just click Tailwind here. Clanging Scales. This is why it was so important to prioritize knocking out Whimsicott in the beginning of the game, right? I was like, I think Kommo-o is a really good win condition in this matchup, but it requires some pretty particular positioning. And I think, yeah, Charizard protects, that's fine. We know you're not Scarf Garchomp, even if you're Hobbenberry. We have the Unnerve, so this is just always guaranteed. Like, the one way we could lose this game is if I Rock Slide and try to attack with Kommo-o, Garchomp outspeeds us, and they Dragon Claws for a knockout, right? So this was always just going to win us the game. And means we don't have to even rely on hitting Rock Slide. That's why I wanted to prioritize those Aqua Jets, right? By getting 2 Aqua Jets off, it means that Charizard actually just faints from the Clanging Scales. So, yeah, that game felt very nice. And I think it goes to showcase how you can bring regular Aerodactyl with Mega Venusaur. And I mean, this team was kind of designed to try to beat Charizard teams like my opponents, right? And because they don't have the dual Megas, like, I think the Mega Aerodactyl version of that team with Mega Aerodactyl plus Sylveon is actually scarier than Whimsicott Glimmora, because Venusaur is very solid into Whimsicott Glimmora, and a lot of people like leading that specifically to try to snipe Aerodactyl early. We've got Mega Blastoise, Talonflame, Archaladon, Garchomp, Gardevoir, Basculegion here. I covered this team recently in my top 10 teams to try out in Champions right now. The Mega Blastoise is for attack. Talonflame is Quick Guard. Gardevoir has the Vacuum Wave. which we have to be really mindful of, because I think Venusaur going up against both Gardevoir and Talonflame is pretty scary. So it feels like this is probably an Aerodactyl game, but then it means I have to respect Talonflame Blastoise as a lead. I don't know if I love this matchup on paper, truthfully. It's kind of scary. Like, I almost feel like I still want to bring Venusaur. I don't mind bringing in Cineroar. I just think Talon Blastoise is such a good lead from their end. Maybe I actually go Sylveon then. I'm trying something completely different. I went Basculegion Aerodactyl here with the idea that I can take an attack on turn 1. They might just Tailwind plus Water Spout, which is the scary thing. Yeah, it is Talonflame Blastoise. Okay. So Tailwind Water Spout is what I would expect them to go for. But this means you're not committing a Gardevoir, right? So I want to go for Liquidation on Talonflame turn 1. Protect with Aerodactyl. There's actually a part of me that also wants to just click my own Tailwind. But does it matter even? Right? They just might be mindful of like Wide Guard here, so I could see them Dark Pulse or Ice Beaming into this. Yeah, I'll Liquidation Protect turn 1. Okay, they switch. Arch? Garchomp. I mean, I at least get Tailwind up now, I suppose. It needs to be Mega Venusaur, though, I think. And I'm guessing their last one is Basculegion. Okay, we're faster than Blastoise. It's really good damage. I'll take it. Ice Beam, Dark Pulse, Water Spout. Okay. Not terrible. I want to Liquidation again and Tailwind right now with Aerodactyl. You would think Garchomp protects here, right? But that's fine. Okay, they don't. So we knock out Garchomp, which is good. Although, honestly, I don't think Garchomp's even that big of a threat to us. I'm going to probably lose both Pokemon here, but then I have Tailwind up with Sylveon plus Venusaur, which seems pretty good. Okay. So with Talonflame in now, they could set up their own Tailwind. I can quick attack here to break Gale Wings. I think I kind of just prefer to Hyper Voice Sludge Bomb. Yep, they Tailwind. Spout. That one's a little annoying because I could have gone Quick Attack Talonflame to break Gale Wings, Giga Drain before you get the Spout off, and then suddenly the Water Spout's way weaker. but it's fine, I guess. Get a poison. So Hyper Voice plus poison actually probably gets the KO. Yeah. Although I actually would argue that works against me because it gives them a free switch in now. Had Talonflame not been poisoned, then the next turn I have priority quick attack, so I can go quick attack Giga Drain, double knockout. Now the problem is Basculegion gets to come in, presumably. It's Arch. Whoa. That's a good sight to see, I think. This is a big turn. It's a question of where our Chowdon targets, because you can Flash Cannon, Sylveon, Ice Beam, Venusaur. If I were them, I would actually double up onto Venusaur. So I'm leaning Hyper Voice, Protect here. Nice. An Ice Beam? Yeah. Okay, that should be huge for us. Perfect. Now, Quick Attack should finish off Blastoise before you get the chance to move Earth Power into Arch. I don't know if I play this game perfectly, though. I'm trying to think. Like, Talonflame with Quick Guard is just so oppressive. I don't know. I don't think Incineroar would have solved anything for us. The game's not won yet, but I think we should be okay. I don't think Draco KOs Venusaur, but if it does, that'll be impressive. There's Quick Attack. Yep. That's exactly why you run Quick Attack, by the way, to finish off low HP Pokemon. Oh, and they just Flash Cannon. Okay, brilliant. Cool. It is modest max special attack White Herb Arch on the opposing side, but yeah. I think the nature of this matchup felt kind of dicey because they're generally faster than us, but we have more bulk to work with, and they did commit to Blastoise over Gardevoir, right? Which meant that I could lead into Venu more. I think in a world, by the way, where they don't show me Blastoise as a lead, we actually think about, like, Megaing the Aerodactyl. So, I don't know. When I play with this team, I actually really like the dual Mega options. But I think overall, it felt dicey mainly just because the speed advantage was quite scary. Whimsicott Glimmora, but this one's got Delphox rather than Mega Charizard, which you normally see on these compositions. Which actually makes it substantially tougher, I think. That's super interesting. Basically, Delphox is going to be a lot better into Venusaur, and it makes Aerodactyl less effective. If I were my opponent, I'd consider leading Whimsicott plus the Basculegion. What can we do against Whimsicott Basculegion? Incineroar Aerodactyl is interesting. Man, I mean, if this is Mystic Water, Basculegion's actually extra spooky. If I were them, I would go Whimsicott Basculegion lead, Delphox in the back. I guess they could just go Whimsicott Glimmora as well, right? Thinking Aerodactyl and Venusaur. Incineroar, which we really need for Delphox. Basculegion. Given that this is not a Charizard team and they have Whimsicott and Floette, I think Kommo-o is a very weak pick, so that's an easy Pokemon to drop in the matchup. So let's see what they bring. Yep, Whimsicott Glimmora. Okay. My guess here is you turn one Tailwind Power Gem into Aerodactyl. I think the priority should be to knock out Glimmora. So I'm leaning towards Protect Aerodactyl, Mega Evolve, Earth Power, Glimmora turn 1. It's tempting to want to Sludge Bomb into Whimsicott, but if we Sludge Bomb it and they get Tailwind up, Delphox just comes in for free, and that's really bad for us, in my opinion. So I'm using Aerodactyl as bait right now. We'll see if they take it. Yep, there's Tailwind. Is it Power Gem? Perfect. Should be Focus Sash on Glimmora. Yeah. Now, we've got Incineroar and Basculegion in the back. They probably will have Delphox plus one of Garchomp or Basculegion. My guess is Basculegion, which makes Incineroar a really valuable pick once we eliminate the Glimmora. I could sacrifice Aerodactyl right now, or I could switch, and I think it's probably better to just sacrifice it. They could also, like, Encore the Aerodactyl, but if I were them, I would just Power Gem Aerodactyl, probably. The alternative is switching in my Basculegion, but I think I'm actually fine just giving it up here. I'll dual Wing Beat and Earth Power into Glimmora. Cool. They just Moonblast. I think here they're covering for Focus Sash Aerodactyl, but I'm not even sashed, so they kind of waste one attack. And I'd rather let Aerodactyl faint than any other Pokemon. It actually would have been an interesting position to consider a double Protect there. Also, I think it's probably more optimal for me to click Sludge Bomb with the Venusaur here because the Whimsicott can Encore me next turn. But I think regardless, Incineroar now should be a fairly effective switch in. So we'll bring that out. This is good into basically any of the 4 that they bring in. And it's going to be Delphox. Okay, cool. Against Delphox, we can Fake Out and just Sludge Bomb, but they might This is why I think last turn I should have clicked Sludge Bomb, because now they could Encore my Venusaur. The upside of Earth Power was to cover for a Glimmora switch into Delphox pre-Mega Evolution, but seems fairly unlikely. I think what I might actually do then is Fake Out into Delphox and then just bring out Basculegion to threaten Aqua Jet. Because I think if I were my opponent, Encore is pretty strong right now. So Delphox will Mega Evolve. And I think Incineroar offensively looks really solid into their Pokemon right now. Whimsicott actually just protects, which is fine by me. Double Protect. Okay. Don't mind that too much. But it does mean they don't take Fake Out Chip. I could Aqua Jet this next turn. Got Venusaur in the back. I mean, Delphox should be the bigger priority to knock out. So I don't mind going for a Throat Chop here into it. And Protect with Basculegion here. I think if you're my opponent, you should probably be pretty scared of Basculegion, so a double up makes sense. Yep, exactly. And Moonblast probably. Perfect. We'll get Throat Chop off. Perfect. I can Aqua Jet now. They could Encore Basculegion, protect Delphox. I don't want to switch into a Psychic. I think that's the biggest way to throw away Venusaur. I'm also just like, did they not have Encore? But they should. If I were my opponent, I think the play here is protect Delphox, Encore Basculegion. But I think I'm still happy to just Aqua Jet and Throat Chop here. Garchomp? So they do Encore me, but now they switch in on a Throat Chop. Okay. I will take that, gladly. This turn is interesting because I think Basculegion is kind of the obvious switch, so I'm actually going to switch the Incineroar out into Venusaur and just stay in with Basculegion for another turn. The reason why I went for the play last turn was because, one, they hadn't clicked Encore yet when they had one opportunity to, so I was like, maybe they don't have it. And two, even if they have it, it's not the end of the world if they Encore me. But it's even better because they end up switching into the Basculegion. Oh, interesting. It's flip turn. Okay, so they are probably Scarf Basculegion, which is a really big piece of information. So Delphox hits the field again. Moonblast. Yep, perfect. Incineroar probably would have fainted had I stayed in there, which is why we want to make that switch. I think now I'm happy to Protect and switch out into Incineroar. Obviously, by going for Protect, I open up the vulnerability of Encore again, but I'm fine with that currently. Because, like, the Delphox now is basically one priority attack, a Fake Out, or an Aqua Jet from getting knocked out, which is good. So let's see. Yep, Psychic. And then probably Moonblast into the Incineroar slot. Oh, they double up. Okay, great. That's huge. Which means now I can switch into Basculegion, Fake Out into the Delphox. I don't know if I even want to Fake Out here, to be honest. Like, I'm actually leaning towards just Flare Blitzing Whimsicott to get rid of the Encore pressure. I also think the Fake Out's kind of obvious on Delphox, so I could see Delphox protecting or even worse, switching out into Basculegion. So I want to respect that option, but it looks like they're going to stay in. Perfect. That should win us the game, I think, but let's see. Yep, Moonblast into Incineroar. Now it means I can Aqua Jet your Delphox this next turn. I think this game highlights why Delphox is not a really big piece of the metagame right now. You know, won an early tournament in Champions, but the type chart is just not very friendly for it, I would say, overall. So Basculegion back in. And it makes sense. I was thinking it would be Mystic Water Basculegion, but now I can Aqua Jet into the Delphox, Throat Chop into Basculegion. Delphox needs to go for a double protect here, but because I have Focus Sash on Basculegion, I can survive an attack. If you knock out Incineroar, free switch him back into Venusaur, and conserving the Sash on Basculegion was a really big deal here. So yeah, I think they recognize that and end up forfeiting. But I think this was a really interesting game because I basically figured I had to lose a Pokemon in the early match, right? But I used Aerodactyl as bait, and the Mega Venusaur was super good damage-wise into the Glimmora. Kommo-o, I think, would have been really tough to bring, so I don't really regret dropping that one. And I think that Sylveon feels pretty awkward because Delphox and Glimmora both resist it, and it's slower than Basculegion. So I feel like we basically had probably the best Pokemon, and using Aerodactyl just to force them to click Tailwind and attack into us turn 1 ended up working out perfectly. Glimmora, Ceruledge, Oranguru, Blastoise, Torkoal, Sylveon. Interesting. Trick Room, right? Like, you could lead Blastoise, Oranguru, Fake Out Trick Room, Instruct Water Spout. Venusaur looks really good here, but it has to worry about Psychic from Oranguru if they're running that. I think I don't mind Sylveon, Venusaur lead. It's not an Aerodactyl game, that's for sure. Basculegion endgame with Last Respects is always decent. Kommo-o is actually not bad here because it can switch in. Although, I guess in retrospect, Incineroar's probably a more consistent pick. It just can't protect to stall out Trick Room. Yeah, Rangoon Blastoise. Okay. I don't know if a Hyper Beam's going to one-shot a Rangoon because I think you should kind of train to survive that, but we are Modest Max. I'm probably getting hit by Fake Out anyway, but I'm kind of down. Because, like, the thing is, you kind of have to respect King Gambit as well, and then even to survive Modest Max Hyper Beam is actually really difficult, I think. So I'm going to Hyper Beam and Giga Drain here, and the idea is, look, with Blastoise, you're going to fake out one of the 2 slots. If you fake out Venusaur, okay, we get Hyper Beam off. Where the game goes wrong is if Hyper Beam misses or if it doesn't get the knockout onto a Rangoon. You could also be Focus Sash a Rangoon, but that wouldn't be super common. Because it's like the safer approach might have been to just click Hyper Voice here on turn 1 and get guaranteed damage onto both. Oh. Wow, they didn't fake out either slot. Okay. Well, we don't miss. How bulky are you? Oh, that actually took it way better than I expected. Definitely should have been Hyper Voice then, but they just Water Spout, so that's fine. Interesting. It's just Psychic. They don't even try to Trick Room. Okay. I don't mind that too much, but this Rangoon must be like max HP, max special defense then. I thought it would be physical. My guess is it's max HP, max special defense, but with Colbur Berry, so you can take King Gambit, because then you kind of survive attacks across the spectrum. But honestly, this is fine. I'm just going to Giga Drain Rangoon now. Good Protect. Very nice. Okay. But with Sylveon outspeeding both, like, Hyper Voice next turn is incredibly threatening. I don't even know if this knocks us out. Oh, it does. Wow. I think I just couldn't risk Trick Room going up there on turn 1. Or turn 2, I should say. But how do you now stop Kommo-o from coming out and I go Hyper Voice, Clangerous Soul? Right? This was a good example of a game, though, where it's like I wasn't really sure where Rangoon lied on the spectrum of investment. The fact that it hung out with 20% means that Hyper Beam was not an optimal play. And, like, the lack of Fake Out was kind of surprising, but yeah, like, Hyper Voice plus Giga Drain would probably have just won us the game on turn 1. So we were fortunate that Trick Room just didn't end up getting set up on turn 1. Still kind of surprised, honestly, but yeah, now I'm going to just get a free boost, and with Sylveon naturally outpacing these, it's super good for us. So the end game still looks quite powerful, I think. Yep, double KO. I feel like I've just seen Sylveon get so many one-hit knockouts with Hyper Beam that I was like, I'll just go for it here. But if I were to replay this game, I think knowing that a Rangoon can survive with that much HP, it's better to just Hyper Voice. But they bring out Torkoal, right? I think, like, because they didn't set up Trick Room, they're actually still in a pretty difficult position, right? Because how do you deal with Kommo-o right now? I also have a Basky Legion in this endgame. Like, they just don't have good speed control here. They'll probably Sludge Bomb Sylveon, but if you Sludge Bomb, that's fine. Kommo-o's not fainting. Like, I actually think it's fine to just Hyper Voice here and Clinging Scales, knowing that we have Basky Legion in the back. Yeah, you can see I thought about Quick Attack there, but Glamor obviously hangs on with more than I'd like. So Sludge Bomb, KO Sylveon, but now I just get Basky Legion against both of these. And I think it goes to show if you don't set up Trick Room with the team that really wants Trick Room up, you can still get swept, right? And I think because Torkoal was in the back, Trick Room really needed to go up. We get burnt, but that's fine. Okay. So Basket Legion in. And we can just go for Aqua Jet here. Another Clinging Scales. So I think the question as we assess the matchup is, should I have brought Incineroar or Aerodactyl? I think the answer is probably no to both, right? Wouldn't have really done much into what the form my opponent brought. I think if I could replay turn 1, Giga Drain Hyper Voice is just more consistent. That's the only play I would change, but I actually think turn 1 against these teams generally are so important. And I'm curious how the game would have played out had my opponent had Fake Out. And, like, let's say it was Mega Blastoise, they Fake Out into Venusaur and then Trick Room. I think the game looks completely differently, right? So it's a good example of how, like, it ended up looking like a pretty commanding victory, but one different play on turn 1 could have dramatically changed the outcome, and it is not a big surprise to expect Fake Out plus the Trick Room on turn 1. And Hyper Beam is a pretty high risk, high reward move, right? So Hyper Voice over the Hyper Beam means that we get around, 40% at least onto the Blastoise, which means then on the following turn, Water Spout is way weaker. In the world in which they do Fake Out Venusaur on turn 1 and Trick Room, on turn 2, they pressure with Water Spout and then Instruct into another Water Spout, and I'm in terrible shape there, right? Well, I guess Venusaur's still around, so I could just get a Giga Drain off, but like it still would not be the preferred position. And so, yeah, I think if you're watching this, like, it's an important skill to assess, like, even if the game went right, if my opponent just made one different decision, how would it impact, like, the rest of the game? And to me in this one, like, I got away a little bit fortunate because of that Hyper Beam. But I want to do the calc against, like, max HP, limited special defense Oranguru and see what Hyper Beam looks like. So as you can see here, even if the Oranguru only has 2 SPDF investment and basically max HP, max defense, Hyper Beam is not going to be a one-hit knockout. So this is a good example of like learning from calcs because, yeah, Oranguru is just not that common in the format, and that was my first time basically ever Hyper Beaming into it. And it does have a really great base special defense of 110, right? And I think I was kind of benchmarking it to Farigiraf, which is a common Trick Room setter. The thing about Farigiraf, more HP, but way less special defense, right? So for example, against a max HP, max defense Farigiraf, well, Hyper Beam is actually a guaranteed one-hit knockout. So it actually is one of the reasons why you might want to consider using Oranguru as your Trick Room setter instead. But learning this calc means that I am never going to click Hyper Beam into Oranguru unless I can guarantee chip damage. And we should expect basically, let's say you are max HP, max special defense, which generally is not going to be the case, but it means that like 62% is the amount that I can do, expect to do minimum to the Oranguru, right? In my head, I was like, look, I'm using a modest max special attack Sylveon rather than like 10, 11 stat points, which is normally what people use. So as a result, I think I can do a lot more damage to Oranguru. But because it is so naturally specially defensive, even with no investment, it just can survive that. So once again, if I were to replay turn 1, it should just be Hyper Voice there instead of Hyper Beam. Could even be Hyper Beam into Mega Blastoise, although like the expectation is that's not going to get the knockout either, as you can see, if you are max HP, which you normally should be on Trick Room teams. Although this is actually also a pretty impressive calc. Like you actually have a really solid chance of getting a ton of damage, if not a one-hit knockout. But as you can see here, Hyper Voice still just does a ton of damage to it, right? And just makes Water Spout dramatically weaker. So I think if I could replay turn 1, I would probably Hyper Voice Giga Drain Blastoise just to make sure that they wouldn't be able to get a ton of damage off with Water Spout under Trick Room. But I kind of wanted to see if we can knock out Oranguru. And the lesson learned is that we should not be able to. We've got Garchomp, Charizard, Sylveon, Farigiraf, Aerodactyl, Incineroar. I think Kommo-o looks excellent here. The main thing we want to scout for is Moonblast or Hyper Beam on Sylveon. I think, honestly, both Venu and Aerodactyl work here. Preference is probably for Aerodactyl. Our own Sylveon's not bad either. And it's probably Basket Legion instead. Like, one of the questions I have is whether or not Kommo-o has Psychic. I think because we're... Or sorry, not Kommo-o, Farigiraf. Because we're up against Farigiraf, I think we probably want Incineroar. If I were them, I would try to beat Aerodactyl first. I might actually go Incineroar, Kommo-o, Basket Legion, Aerodactyl in the back. I think normally with Aerodactyl, I like leading it, but into my opponent's team, they can lead Incineroar to intimidate it. They can lead Farigiraf. They can have their own Garchomp. 10 win streak, almost 2,000 elo. That's impressive. All right, let's see if we can dethrone them. Yep, Incineroar for a graph. That's what I was talking about. Okay. We have the faster Incin here. Guessing there's a Sylveon in the back. Throat Chop would stop Parting Shot on Incineroar. They'll probably want to fake out one of the 2 slots. I'm not sure I really want to go for Clangorous Soul right now, because I don't know if Friggraph has Psychic or not. So I think I actually don't mind just going for Throat Chop and Clanging Scales on turn 1. Okay, they're going to fake out Kommo-o, makes sense. Pretty good damage. It's not Colbur Berry on Friggraph. I'm guessing it's Trick Room going up right now. No, just Psyshock. Okay. So they do have a Psychic type attack. That's good to know. This next turn is interesting. Like, I'm leaning towards just going for a Throat Chop here and Clanging Scales. The main thing is that Friggraph could protect. So do they have it? Psyshock, Trick Room. Okay, Incineroar switches. That's fine. Sylveon maybe. Yep. No protect. Nice. That's huge. Oh, but it's Citrus Berry. So that will allow it to survive the double up. Makes sense, though, given the lack of Colbur Berry. Now they Trick Room. Okay. Trick Room is pretty awkward for us right now. Got Basculegion and Aerodactyl in the back. I'm leaning towards just going for a Throat Chop and a Friggraph here, protecting with Kommo-o. Like I said, one of the big questions is Sylveon's moveset here, because with Soundproof on Kommo-o, we are immune to Hyper Voice. Right now, I will say I think I wish I had Venusaur in the back over Aerodactyl, but Aerodactyl will be good once Trick Room ends. Venusaur just matches up much better into Sylveon and Incineroar. Sash Basculegion, a little bit awkward right now as well. Oh, they actually just commit Hyper Beam immediately. Interesting. Okay, I don't think this KOs us, though. Yeah, but did they double up into it? No. Okay. Get the knockout. Now the Sylveon is completely useless for a turn, which is also good for us. Still curious what their Mega Evolution is. You can bring Incineroar back in right now if you're my opponent. But I think Sylveon being useless for a turn is a really big deal in stalling out this Trick Room. I was expecting Trick Room to get set up on turn 1. It's actually Charizard coming out immediately. Interesting. Okay. Could pretty easily Parting Shot into Sylveon. But I also don't hate just going for Flare Blitz here. Flare Blitz means we'd faint from Recoil. I would get a free switch into Aerodactyl, but then they pressure with Hyper Beam. I guess because they have Hyper Beam, I like Parting Shot more here. Clanging Scales. Yep, Charizard protects. Could also just bring in Basculegion right now. I think Aerodactyl is probably the better pick. So So the thing is, Rock Slide from Aerodactyl looks pretty darn good right now, right? Kommo-o is also really good, but we need to eliminate the Sylveon. Like, that's the primary problem. 2 turns to Trick Room left. What do we want to do here? They could just Hyper Beam here and like Solar Beam, double up an Aerodactyl. I'm leaning Mega Evolve Protect and just Clanking Scales here. Charizard is going to Mega Evolve, okay? That's fine. I just feel like if you're my opponent and you're staring down Aerodactyl, you should be aggressively targeting into it, so a double up would make sense here. Because I think like Rock Slide feels pretty free to click. We only have 12 HP investment here, so I'm not confident on surviving Hyper Beam, Solar Beam. Oh, they go for Hyper Voice. Okay. Well, we have Soundproof here, which is what makes Kommo-o so nice into Sylveon. That would not have KO'd Aerodactyl, I'm pretty sure. Also, we confirmed that Kommo-o is faster than Charizard here. So once Trick Room expires, I should have a pretty big speed advantage. I think given this, and given that the Sylveon's at -1, I would like to switch Aerodactyl out into Incineroar right now and protect Kommo-o. Because we then get to an endgame where Aerodactyl and Kommo-o just outspeed Sylveon and Charizard as well as Incineroar. The Charizard is still fundamentally why I didn't love bringing Venusaur into this matchup, right? Combined with the potential Psychic type attack from Farigiraf. So I think this is a pretty decent spot for us. They try to quick attack. Okay, cool. But now we have also intimidated you, so I'm not that scared. Although this turn I could have just attacked with Aerodactyl, but this is fine. I think Incineroar has done its job in this game, which was beating Farigiraf. So it has served its role. Okay. By the way, I've gotten so much value out of this leftovers. It's pretty awesome. I mean, I think truthfully we are free to just click Rock Slide right now. I could see an Incineroar switch in potentially. Just thinking if there's any value to setting up. Yeah, you're at -2, so quick attack's actually not that scary. Although I guess I would draw my defense. I'm definitely clicking Rock Slide here. Just the debate is what I want to do with Kommo-o. I think I'm down to Aura Sphere here. Recover for a Sylveon switch. Charizard's going to be the one to pivot. Okay, that's fine. Pretty solid damage. Yeah, we're not going to do much there, but that's fine. Every little bit adds up right now. And it's just a Hyper Voice. Okay. This is why Soundproof is so good. And that's -1, so it's really not doing too much damage to us. Perfect. My debate here is whether or not I want to switch out Aerodactyl, but I think the preference is actually to stay in. I just don't want to eat up a Hyper Beam on it right now, but I think I'm happy to just protect and Aura Sphere into Incineroar. We know that Citrus Berry also can't be on Incineroar, so it's probably something like Chopol or Pasho or Shuka. That parting shot, by the way, actually ended up being so important on the Sylveon because its damage output is just so much more lackluster, so I'm really happy that I went for that. Okay, good pivot. Immediately baiting out the Protect from my end. So that was really nicely done. But with no recovery on there and everything is just getting lower and lower, right? Yeah, and they're going to Hyper Beam into us. That makes sense. Okay. My internal debate right now is I'm okay if they get a Hyper Beam off if it means I get Rock Slide, I think. Charizard should protect in this position. But I think what's fine is clicking Rock Slide here as well as Clangorous Soul. Because I protected with Aerodactyl, they can Hyper Beam into that slot again. Yeah, Charizard protects, but that's fine. Because Kommo-o now outpaces your Charizard, right? And with Hyper Beam, now you'll knock out Aerodactyl. I'll get the free switch into Basculegion, and I can just Last Respects to KO your Sylveon. Also, I have a flinch chance here. So you can see how good Kommo-o can be into these Charizard teams. Yeah, okay, they're going to Hyper Beam, but that's fine. I think my opponent had a pretty nice sequence of defensive plays, like switching Charizard out into Incineroar. I also could have attacked with Aerodactyl under Trick Room on the last turn of Trick Room, but like I still totally feel fine about this position, right? Because now you've protected with Charizard and your Sylveon has committed Hyper Beam. So Basculegion gets a free knockout with Last Respects here into Sylveon. Like, how do you stop late game Basculegion plus a boosted Kommo-o, right? I can just Last Respects here. And we should just go for Clanging Scales in this position. I could Aura Sphere Charizard because I think Charizard should switch out into Incineroar, but I don't find that worth it. Like, in the off chance they had a flying type attack, like Air Slash, which is something that people are teching on Charizard now. Because I think I still win the game regardless, right? So we'll get Clanging Scales off. That just almost knocks out Incineroar. Beautiful. And Basculegion clicks Last Respects. Perfect. So now you bring Charizard back in, but I just protect with both of my Pokemon and click Clanging Scales, and that's game over. Kommo-o was actually so good in this game. Like, I knew it would be powerful into Mega Charizard specifically, but yeah, by eliminating the Frograph as quickly as we did, it just meant that Kommo-o was able to just wall, and you saw just how good Soundproof was in this game, right? We just completely ignored the Sylveon's Hyper Voice. And Hyper Beam is strong, but it is not that scary because you then have to spend a turn recharging, right? Which we can really utilize to our advantage. So my opponent's Mega Evolution in Charizard was basically neutralized that entire game. And that was the whole point of this team. The team creator knew that Charizard was going to be really popular going into Nationals and wanted to counter it really hard. Obviously, Aerodactyl and Incineroar is already pretty good, but Kommo-o was kind of like the new piece that can just wall Charizard and a lot of the supporting pieces around it. The swing in Elo, by the way, can be pretty crazy. Our opponent was in Champion Tier, and so before that game, I think I was like ranked 330, and winning that game alone gave us enough points to be in the top 200. And so the thing about Champion Tier is that the margins are actually like so slim if you look at like the, you know, first 100 players basically, or I should say like the 200 to 300 range. And so like even a single win can boost you up a lot in terms of rankings, but felt like a fitting game to get back into Champion Tier. Obviously with a season, like I often end up like bouncing between Champion Tier, Master Ball 1 and Master Ball 2, depending on like the teams that we're trying out. But yeah, nice to be able to feature the team and give it a really good win. Okay, we've got a Spathra here, but no Archaludon, which is interesting. So, like, the Spathra normally wants to Baton Pass some boosts over. We can use Incineroar. I mean, I also think this could be Aerodactyl plus Sylveon and just use Unnerve to shut down Roselli Berry. This also could be a dual Mega game where we use Aerodactyl but don't Mega it, and then use Mega Venusaur, because Mega Venu is pretty good into Gengar. This totally could be Gravity Hypnosis, by the way. Just realized that. don't think I want Venusaur here. Or sorry, Kommo-o. I feel like Venusaur should match up really well. Basque Legion's damage output is just so good, but I do think there's a pretty decent case for Incineroar in this matchup as well. So let's see. But yeah, I think the main thing that I'm unsure of here is it doesn't actually look like the Baton Pass strategy. Because there's no clear Pokemon to Baton Pass to. It's going to be Gengar Sable. I mean, this feels like Gravity Hypnosis to me, to be honest. Just really worried about getting Encore and then disabled by the Sableye Gengar combination. Turn 1, I'm actually leaning just Rock Slide and Hyper Voice. And I don't want a Mega because I want a Nerf. So then my question is it max speed Mega Gengar? I feel like it should be. Sableye protects. Okay. Not a common move you run on Sableye, but a very good move here. Because now they theoretically pressure with Encore into disable immediately. I want to Hyper Beam Sableye here then. I don't want to click Hyper Voice again because it could get disabled. I think the tricky thing about this turn is the threat of Encore and disable into either slot. I might actually feel compelled then to Mega Evolve, because then Aerodactyl is faster. Who do you Encore and disable right now? I would target Sylveon. I actually think the play may have been Quick Attack here on a Sableye. Oh, they go for Gravity. Okay. I'll take that. This is what I was expecting on turn 1. Roselli Berry. Yeah. The reason to Mega Evolve there, by the way, is to make sure we outspeed Gengar, so then Sylveon gets to attack before the Gengar does. And we do eliminate Sableye, which is good. So that worked out, but... basically, if I don't Mega, then Gengar can just outspeed us and then get a Hypnosis off immediately. This next turn, though, I'm in really bad shape because I can't attack with either Pokemon. But I wanted to make sure I got rid of Sableye to break the Encore Disable stuff because that trap is just brutal. Although I guess Mousehold probably can do that now, too. I think getting Tailwind up was big, though. But now you can just put Sylveon to sleep as well. Ha! That's really cool. Pop Bomb. Makes sense with Gravity. Very nice. Okay. Hex. Wow. Okay, the problem is I have regular Venusaur in the back, which is not great. If I were my opponent, I would probably follow me, Hypnosis into Basque Legion. Wow, that's really cool. I'm not even sure what I could have done too differently in this matchup. Like, this combo was really sick. Especially with Population Bomb. I'm going to Sludge Bomb Protect here, but it's looking pretty tough, I think, because the Gengar can just Hypnosis. But they do switch, which I don't mind. Into the patented Basculegion counter. Oh, that is so nice. I'm assuming they're Population Bomb Venusaur now. Yeah. Yo, this is so strong. It just won. Wow. I mean, honestly, kudos to my opponent. This was so sick. I actually think we had a pretty good out towards winning, though, if I just doubled up onto Mouseho there instead of protecting with Basculegion. So maybe I should have just gone Liquidation plus the Sludge Bomb, because we would have knocked out Mousehold. They switch out, and then the Focus Sash is intact on the Basculegion, so I can just Last Respects Gengar, Earth Power, Heliolisk. So, yeah. The reason I protected was because I feared, like, Follow Me plus Hypnosis into Basculegion I thought was actually pretty safe on their end. And if you put Basculegion to sleep, then I lose. So I don't necessarily regret playing the turn the way I did, because I think if I get that turn right, it's, like, salvageable. But, yeah. Thunder, really nicely done. Really cool team here. Like, I've not really fought against Gravity, and to have a way to, like, effectively enable your Mouseho to be able to go for Population Bomb is really clever. Like, we could have brought in Incineroar here, maybe, but it would still get put to sleep, which is part of the problem. I don't know if I love Kommo-o either. So, like, the reality is it was just, like, a very unique combination here, right? Like, this is my first time, I think, in all of Champions fighting against the combination of Gravity, Sableye, which I mentioned, but they also had the Protect, which was really unique. Like, the other debate is maybe I Mega Evolve the Venusaur in the end, but I don't know if it actually moves the needle that much. And I felt like pressure to Mega Evolve Aerodactyl to get that Tailwind up so that Sylveon could knock out Sableye, because I was like, otherwise the Encore Disable combination from Sableye plus the Gengar just becomes too disruptive. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for watching. My name is Aaron CybertronVGC, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right, peace.